BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions. First, type Sakura loves Sarada because we're going to get into that drama, and Code gets the cover. Okay, I know I'm going to get some comments saying that they don't like Code's outfit, and I get it. It's not entirely for me either, but I feel like people keep forgetting that Code is part of a group, or at least it was part of a group, that is very anti-ninja, and given that the core philosophy behind the outfits are based off Japanese culture mixed in with modern-day elements in both the original Naruto and Boruto series, I never understood why people got mad that the guy who idolizes a shinobi hater isn't dressed like a shinobi character in Naruto. Just food for thought. So we get to continue from the last chapter where Boruto explains to Kawaki that they have to insert the Thorn soul bulb into the origin, otherwise they'll end up dying if there's not enough time. We also get a cute scene where Inojin recovers much to Himawari's joy, which has also started dumb controversy in the Boruto fandom because apparently that means there's no stakes, which, okay, regarding the whole Inojin is going to be blindfolded thing, if I may be so bold, I question why people jumped the gun on that one happening. Don't get me wrong, the fan drawings and edits were cool, but it feels like people put it in their heads that this was destined to happen, and they got surprised when their headcanons had become reality. And look, I get that the mind transfer jutsu causes people pain if they get hurt, but you're not going to have me enraged that the person who has healing powers from the same creature that Naruto was able to work with, that was able to use chakra to revitalize, strengthen, and heal a bunch of his friends and allies during the war, makes it bad writing. The eyes were damaged, but with the power of the Nine Tails, it is possible to recover the damage. I was originally going to do a short about this, but yes, with Sarada tired, Chocho plans to go Konohamaru to take her to the hospital. And this is interesting because while Chocho and Sarada have a friendship in the anime and the manga, because Team 10 was so underused in part 1 of the manga, you don't really notice it all that much. So this will make it the first time Ikimoto has focused on Sarada and Chocho's friendship outside of flashbacks, which is neat. I'm also going to get some flack for this, but apparently people found Damon's concern for Ada dangerous and creepy. But this is one of the, probably one of his more compassionate moments in the series. Just, hoping that his sister is okay. I get it. He can come over creepy, but for me, it just felt genuine. Koji and Boruto point out that Code didn't make an appearance yet and was paying attention to the situation, most likely, since they know he'll show if they'll try to free Bug. But Koji brings up 3 potential futures. 1, Boruto ends his life. 2, Code retreats but takes Sakura hostage to use as bait. And Boruto's got the look of concern like she's been through enough BS, don't you dare. But there's a third option. He cuts ties with the Shinju and joins the Boruto faction, but Koji realizes that one could basically be a percentage of 0. And normally I would agree, but there's a part of me that's wondering, Cole's holding it to avenge the people who harmed Ishiki, but you can make the argument that the divine trees aren't exactly sticking to that script either, and one has the likeness of the vessel of his master. So technically he has no reason to want to side with them outside of survival. So the thing is that you could make the argument to Code that Code has more reasons to join the heroes even if it is temporarily, though it depends on how much the heroes, or at least Boruto, can influence Code. What do you think? We also got a funny callback to chapter 28 where Inojin warned Boruto he doesn't forgive him or accept him since he's really only there to help the Leaf Village and Himawari, while Boruto threatened him by claiming that if he even makes his sister cry, he'll shave off that haircut until he's bald. And now we have Boruto claiming that he's exempt for the buzz cut. For now. But he teleports away after seeing Himawari happy with Inojin and Shikadai. And I don't know why he does it, but it's always kind of sad that Himawari is too innocent or shows she wants to bridge the gap anytime he leaves because they can't be together for too long. And Kawaki plans on talking to Amato? Interesting. What do you think they'll talk about next chapter? And Boruto using the Byakugan to try and find Bug, which, yeah, Code is so obsessed for revenge on Boruto. More so Kawaki through Boruto to plan to end his life, though it's interesting that Omnipotence has scrambled his mind so much that he sees them both as one entity. Because real talk, would Code actually say Boruto is the type of person to come save him if he's thinking that he's Kawaki? I don't know, but food for thought there. Meanwhile, Sarada wakes up like I did halfway through working on the script for a video none of you are going to watch to somewhere before the sneak preview aired, with Sumire easing her worries because they won, feeling blurry while being surprised that Chocho was there, which does hint towards my theory that they grew distant between the time skip, and Sakura asking her to count the fingers she's holding up. And this is where we got the image for the preview. Sakura realizes that her vision is getting more messed up because of the mangekyo sharingan. The more she uses it, the more bad her vision gets, and if she continues using it the way that she has been, she will eventually go blind. But continuing off that preview, we got the scene where there are certain people saying, under Ikimoto, Sakura is no longer portrayed as a mother and wife. She isn't Kishimoto Sakura. She has been reduced to a random nurse who occasionally appears at the hospital. True Sakura would immediately hug Sarada and ask what happened. Yeah, guys, true Sakura exists. You're all just impatient as hell. Which, the scene is adorable, if not sadly obvious. Consoling her daughter because, she knows she's trying her best to protect who she cares about. And as for Sakura's crest on her back, yeah, it turns out you can either translate it to medicine or doctor, which fits because she's the head of the Konoha Hospital and Medical Division. Sakura says the power you feel you need is strength you breathe into your life yourself, and it makes me wonder if Sakura is hinting that there's a natural way for her to overcome the mangekyo's limits and blindness. She does claim as long as she has resolve, she'll be fine, but I do feel like it could be some more hints of a way Sakura wants to help, but you could interpret it as Sakura wanting Sarada to find a resolve to come up with a solution to mitigate the mangekyo's limits on herself. Which narratively, it would be compelling to have Sarada figure out what to do by herself with encouragement instead of just the carried by her parents' argument. Most of the new generation unfairly gets by fans and certain characters in a narrative. Sakura even compares her to, well, multiple people herself, since she was also motivated by a guy to get stronger. What some people are mad at because it implies she's only talking about Sasuke and love, but she also wanted to be strong enough to catch up to him with Naruto. She literally went out of her way to train one of the 3 strongest shinobi in the village in order to get as far as she did, and Sakura's being praised for pushing herself that far to get where she is now. The next comparison is with Sasuke exclusively because both of them were always standing up against something fierce, which I can translate as overwhelming odds. In love or hate Sasuke, his people were wiped out, his brother was drastically stronger than him, his goals from eliminating Itachi's life to getting revenge on the Leaf to stopping the war to becoming an enemy of the world to trying to protect the world from Kage level threats. All our goals were extremely hard, but he either accomplished or tried his best in those circumstances. Heck, think about Sadara's circumstances too. Her idol was presumed dead by her new teammate. All but one of her friends and father have their entire memories of her best friend and teammate altered to make them think that he was responsible for killing his own father and mother when he didn't. All of them are getting ready to attack him, and the stress of all of that going on awakened the MS for her to sway Sasuke into saving Boruto. Then she and Sakura presumably have had to try to have people judging them or questioning why Sasuke left. She still tried to train to be strong. She didn't talk to her friends all that much since no one would believe her. She's had to fight and be hurt by almost every Shinju so far, save for Matsuri, and yet without her, they would have lost to Hidari, Ryu would have wiped out the rest of her allies, and there'd be more civilian casualties because of the Shinju. The odds have been stacked against Sarada from the start, including the fan base, and yet she still continues, playing a role in defeating Hidari, stopping Mamushi, and defeating Ryu herself. The last comparison is with Itachi, which was also a topic for debate even though Sakura is married to Sasuke. They've had to talk about that at some point. And she's not wrong. Itachi literally allowed himself to be a villain because Danzo and the elders put him and Shishui in a tough situation, and he still tried to delay the downfall of the Leaf as best as he could. And I don't agree that all of his actions were justified, even if I understand where they're coming from. He still did his best to stop the war after he got resurrected. Real question is, how much did Sakura and Sasuke tell Sarada about Itachi? For all the Sakura doesn't care about her daughter nonsense that's been going around in the community, she tells her daughter that she'll always believe in her and her father. After all, she's used to people saying terrible things about their family, and that also makes sense. Remember, a lot of people have not forgiven Sasuke for his events even after the war, and even Sasuke agrees that it's understandable that some people have the right to hate him. Knowing that he left the village in order to help Boruto is one thing, but Sakura has never been the type to give up on somebody, and she knows Sasuke isn't an awful person, and clearly has trust in him and his actions. And that could also be a meta commentary on how much flack Sakura, and Sasuke get from the real life community, most of which is not deserved, but they still persevere anyway. And the whole Sakura is just a nurse is dumb. Who else in the village besides Tsunade or Shizune is medically adept at her to figure out how to deal with the mangekyo sharingan? Yeah, she's the head of the medical division. Of course she's going to be there for her daughter, but people are mad Sakura focused on Inojin when he was impaled in chapter 14, and Moegi after the heroes freed her from her Shinju in time in chapter 25. She has an entire hospital to run, but she's able to give her daughter one last piece of advice, yelling Shanado, which, if you don't know what Shanado means, it's always been translated as best as possible to be hell yeah, or a phrase to pump yourself up, which the dub decided to change to Cha as a battle cry, which I don't exactly blame them for. It does kind of make sense. Heck, even Chocho and Sarada don't know exactly what it means either, which I guess that's something the fanbase and the characters have in common. We even get a good moment of vulnerability where we see Sakura crying, but they don't show her eyes, and she wipes off the tears because, yeah, of course she's concerned about her daughter, but she believes in her regardless. Sakura never gave up on her goals, and now she's hoping that her daughter won't do the same. After that, Chocho asks why she's working so hard for a trader like Boruto instead of Kawaki, and I think this is a sign that this was the reason why they didn't talk throughout the chapters, because she couldn't understand where Sarada was coming from, but Boruto, Sarada, and Chocho have been fighting the same enemy. Even if they haven't all been side by side each other, at this point Chocho understands that he is on their side. And Chocho is many things, but she has two things going for her: her confidence and her intuition, which Kakashi in the anime praised her for. Also, if you were on Silent in the Boat's live stream, I know I pointed this out before, but does anyone remember in the Boruto anime where he thought Slim Chocho was attractive? It's now come full circle, as now Chocho thinks Boruto is attractive now. I couldn't help but laugh the moment I realized that. You and me both, Sumire. Even Chocho questions how Kawaki is Naruto's son, but remember, omnipotence hardwires your memory to accept things like that, so it's not exactly her fault. She also ends up asking Sumire what she's been up to, and I'm not gonna lie, this is the funniest I've laughed at Sumire in a while. She strikes up a pose telling her that neither Sadara or her are calling her class rep, and she's always had this deceptive sharpness to her, so it's actually funny watching her be genuine and wanting her perception to be changed amongst her friends. This Chocho mix is so freaking priceless to the point she starts wondering if Sadara's mangekyo was to blame, which I'm not sure that's how Izanagi works. Boruto finally arrives at Bug's location, and you start to notice that he's slowly moving step by step as he appears to put the Thorn soul bulb, but when Code jumps out, he immediately has Uzumaki charge, probably taking his time to charge while he was walking. And Code has been probably traumatized from the last time that's happened, and this time, you know, evades it. And Boruto even jokes that his surprise attack lacked the element of surprise, because, like, dude, you can travel through claw marks, and this is where you used to operate. Of course, he would know that you would show up. Unfortunately, Code decides to retreat, and to Boruto's dismay, the Thorn soul bulb deteriorates, which means they can't save Bug. I'm not saying Bug was like a good person, but even I have to agree with Boruto that it is kind of sucks that they got this close to saving him. I mean, after all that effort, he still died, which I wouldn't say is bad writing on Code's end because he's been so focused on revenge that he didn't even think about the opportunity of getting his ally back. But it does speak to the potential relationship between Koji and Boruto, that he was an enemy, since at least watching the life in his eyes would be a reminder that Boruto also needs to make sure that doesn't happen to the last person he needs to save, in Sasuke. Should Bug have died though? Well, at least we can't say there's no consequences in the story. I just wish we got to learn more about him. Well, the criticisms I and a few people had with Next Generations was that outside of the anime and Ao, we didn't get that many perspectives into what would make someone join Kara as the Outers, since they were seen as so expendable. And the answer was probably easy, as he got baited by Ada's charms, but he's likely old enough to have been motivated to join even before she and Damon were kidnapped and found. So he may have been immoral to Shinobi in the first place, and the fact that he was a base of Mamushi does imply that he was either a dirty old man or someone who had a lot of power or potential in his prime. But sometimes you don't really need all the answers, and I guess it was fitting that he was treated like a bug and sadly died with only really the people who he was meant to fight against who actually wanted to save him. And sadly, that's kind of fitting. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed chapter 34. Like I said in the previous video, I do believe that the community needs to start embracing transition chapters, since we get a lot more natural character building and time to breathe after the last big fight. We finally got a meaningful interaction for Sarada and Sakura, and while the next arc seems uncertain, probably Hiyari, there's probably enough breadcrumbs and issues that lead me looking forward to see what happens next. But let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.